So, welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community Call. It is September 16th, 2025, and my name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a Principal Product Manager from Microsoft. And today we do have three really cool demos scheduled on the Community Call. We'll start with recapping some of the assets which we have available, and also asking you to volunteer, for example, to do some demos within our Community Calls. We'll talk about that one in a second. Everybody is welcome to present a great opportunity as well. But we're going to recap some of those assets, what's happening, all of the upcoming events and all of that stuff. We'll do a group picture, and then we have three cool topics of today. So April and David are going to talk about Introduction to Copilot Studio Agent Academy, a really awesome initiative led by the Cloud Advocates in April to make sure that people are up to date on the opportunities with Copilot Studio, not Cloud Studio. Wow, my brain is hitting blanks. Now, after that one, we have Paolo Pialorsi talking about MCP server for community sample gallery. So that basically means that you're able to use AI to connect to the community sample gallery and use it in an efficient way, for example, for demo source and also getting access on sample information. Paolo is going to talk about that one in his section. And then the last will be me. I'm going to kind of recap all of the latest announcements which we have on SharePoint Intranet Reimagined with Copilot-powered SharePoint. There's a really cool setup of capabilities which we have over there, and I'm going to go them through and do a live demo with some cool setups there as well. So understanding if you have the Copilot license especially for content editor, then what you can actually do within the SharePoint with the Copilot. There's awesome stuff there as well. Now, quick recap on all the different assets which we have available. First of all, YouTube channel, super important thing. We are actually publishing right now up to 2 videos every single day because we have so much material on the channel, which is a bit of an overwhelming amount of content, but we want to make sure that the videos and content what we are producing through these community calls and the other means are getting delivered for you as well. So a lot of content over there across the different Microsoft 365 and Power Platform topics at AKM Community YouTube. We do have our LinkedIn page for following up on what's happening and the communities and agendas. There is close to 7,000 followers on that community page, which is really cool, and that grows rapidly. So that is in LinkedIn if you are in that social media platform. We do have open source assets in GitHub, and as it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample for you across the thousands of GitHub repositories, we actually want to make it super easy for you with our sample gallery. So we do have our sample gallery model where we're surfacing information directly from GitHub, and you're able to use a search to find the relevant sample for you. A lot of URLs, only one URL to remember, technically 2 of them or either one of them, which is AKM's Community Home or Community MS. Both of them are redirecting to the same location. Now, we do have a lot of community calls. So this one is the Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, happening every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, maybe except on a holiday season. We'll have a break on this call. On top of that, we have the Power Platform monthly community call happening actually in September tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And then again, it's the 3rd Wednesday of every single month. Office admin community call happened actually last week for the September one, and again happening in October. That's mainly Power Platform one is mainly for community demos, and then Office admins is mainly Microsoft people sharing the updates on Office adding development. And then on our Thursday series, we have a community call every single 7 a.m. on Thursdays. So every single week, 7 a.m. on Thursdays. So Tuesday, community call with Microsoft presenters, Thursdays, community call with community presenters. And for the Thursday series, we're looking into combining them. Now, you don't need to do anything. If you have those community call invites within your calendar, all of those will be automatically redirected to the new model, which we will be merging these calls pretty soon. But basic idea there is that we don't need to always explain what is the difference between Microsoft 365 and Power Platform and SharePoint frameworks. It's like, no, it's all related. So let's actually have a one call on every single Thursday with community demos. And then you can always go to the AKM, for example, the meetup service to find out what is the agenda for that particular week. So do you want to actually stay live on the call? Every single call is recorded. Every single time it's getting published within 24 hours in the YouTube. So makes it super easy to follow up on what's actually happening. Now, for a lot of these community calls, we do welcome community demos, a great opportunity if you want to get, valued as an MVP for Microsoft as an example, these things do matter. If you are an MVP and you want to get your MVP renewal points up, and these things do matter, great opportunities of actually showcasing what you built. And the really important thing to remember, this doesn't have to be open source. It doesn't have to be a special rocket science demo, which you want to actually demonstrate as part of the demo. No. Getting started with the products, getting started with capabilities, showcasing how you are using some of the capabilities within the Microsoft 365 from Power Platform. That is definitely welcome and more than needed. There's more people who are not up to date on all of the basics than the audience for the super cool rocket science level insights. That's just how the world works. We always have new people within this course. There's always new people as we're growing the community together. Now, we also obviously have a lot of material available in the learn.microsoft.com in all of the different areas, so please take advantage of that one. A lot of individual learn modules for you to take advantage. We also talked about already our sample gallery. We are now past 2,500 samples within there, so thank you for contributing all of those samples. And they really vary from the prompt samples to a individual Power App samples or a Copilot declarative agents, all available from one centralized location, so you can really easily find what's relevant for you. You can actually use and that gallery information using the MCP server, which Paolo is going to show in practice actually today as the second demo of today, which will be super, super cool. As a find a relevant sample for you, you might be wondering, well, wait a minute, how do I get started on this sample? Or you might be wondering that I would love to actually contribute or maybe volunteer for a demo, but I would love to have some support for it. That's why we have Sharing is Caring initiative with all of our MVPs. And directly from LA, David Warner is going to recap what this is all about.
Yes, thank you, Vesa. So Sharing is Caring, my friends, is scheduled October 13th. We had a weird thing with the team's webinar, so be on the lookout. The date is set. Todd is going to be there, and Hope Stephanie will be there, and you will be there, and I'll be there. It's going to be awesome. We want you to be there. And why should you be there? Well, if you want to contribute to any of these initiatives, like Vesa's mentioned, this is your gateway. So you want to see those sample numbers increase. You want to help us pump those up. You got to use GitHub. And let's face it, GitHub can be a little scary. So we want to demystify it, de-scary it. Is that a word? Yeah, de-scary it. It's going to be awesome. You're going to be a master over GitHub by the end of it. You'll understand what fork and blame and raw and pull request means. And guess what? It is a contribution. So that means once you contribute, you'll be already having a contribution, which is awesome. These are safe space opportunities. They are not recorded, so you ask any and all questions you want without fear of it going on record, like many of us are scared to do when that happens. Understandable. So we want it to be a comfortable space. Be on the lookout, ak.ms/sharingiscaring. We'll be flipping that on momentarily here this week. So the date is scheduled, though, so definitely rely on that, and we'll get it out there for you. Now, as I mentioned, it is a contribution. Why does that matter? Because we want to recognize you. Our community recognition program that's been labeled best in class, well, we've already known that, but Credly recognized it as a best in class. You got all these amazing badges that are available, Snippet Sorcerer and Prompt Pro and all the React controls, modern search, list formatting, the Recruit for Agent Academy, which we'll talk about. And of course, the superhero season. So the Porcupine Rises is available. And guess what's right around the corner? Hacktoberfest. So all you have to do in October or Hacktober is submit one contribution and you will get the bonus Hacktoberfest badge that has been branded just to match the theme of Hacktoberfest this year. We do that every year. We brand it. That is the official graphics and color scheme. So it's super cool. Only available in October. So get signed up. It's absolutely free. ak.ms/community/recognition. That's back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Directly from LA. So really, really cool. Or Hollywood, right, David? Hollywood. Cool. Quickly recapping all of the events. So TechCon 365 at techcon365.com. Please do check out that one. This time Seattle, Atlanta has already done. Dallas is happening in November. And I think we have, I can't remember the city name, already announced for early 2026. If somebody remembers the city name, put it in the chat as well. So I need to update the slide on that. Now, Power Platform Community Conference is happening pretty soon in October 28th to 13th. And that is happening in Las Vegas, MGM, a super cool venue. And super cool location. That is from the big ballroom, not a ballroom, that is a big stadium side of the house, that picture, and it's going to be awesome. So that's on end of October. After that, we do have the Ignite happening. Ignite is a hybrid setup, so you can be on-site or you can join Ignite also online by going to ignite.microsoft.com and registering there and watching the sessions live from there. Then in December, there's a Dublin ESPC, European SharePoint Conference, which includes Azure and AI and security and IT admin and business solution, a lot of stuff on that conference. That is happening in Dublin for the 1st and for the 4th of December 2025. Awesome conference as well. Next year, ECS 2026 happening in 5th to 7th of May in Cologne, Germany. Super convenient location, easy to drop by from multiple different locations all around the world. So super awesome setup. Now, in the meanwhile, or other than that, there's a lot of different events, not between August, September, and October. Is a lot of different events happening, and even further than that, you will find all of the details on upcoming events from communitydays.org, where if you are an event organizer, you can get your event actually listed as well, so people know what's actually happening, and they can join either in person or virtually on site. Now, quickly recapping all of the different news which have happened within the last week. We do not have that much news actually again on this week, but there's some announcements on the Copilot. For example, really cool thing, Copilot Chat is coming to all Microsoft 365 apps. So that means that Copilot Chat will be directly in the right side panel if you want, in Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and in Teams, and Outlook as well, and you're able to actually operate against what's in the window as well. Really cool capabilities with Copilot, and then other announcements as well. So please check out the news which we're getting shared in the chat as well. For anybody who's watching the recording, we have the news in the description, of course, on the video as well, so you can easily follow them. As part of all of the work that we do, one of the super exciting things and like getting a lot of popularity is the prompt library. So this is a super convenient and easy way to contribute. So if you have a prompt what you're using as part of your day-to-day work, you can easily contribute that to be part of the prompt library on this side. And we always announce and acknowledge the contributor of the week and the prompt of the week. And this time it's coming from Roger. And this is actually a really cool example of how we can use the Copilot to make you a bit more productive. So quite often when we create a project plan, you also need to identify script risks based on the information within the plan. So let's ask that from Copilot. And Copilot will give you the drafted version and information about the top risks based on what it's actually able to analyze in the plan. And you're able to use that as a starting point then to evolve your risk analysis for the upcoming project. So thank you, Roger, for sharing that example. Now, other events just to be aware, also on the Power Platform one, there's going to be an agent hack on October 29th. This is a 5-hour hands-on hacking with a plan to have more than 2,000 developers building more than 100 agent-driven solutions. So when you're registering the Power Platform conference, you can actually indicate your interest on this hack. Or if you have already registered, you will get more details on the Power Platform agent hack as part of the attendee. So really cool option for anybody who is joining us on the Power Platform conference. But then it is actually time for the group photos. So let me actually flip the mode again and the scenes. I can see Todd and Stephanie already visible on the screen. Let me move you here. I will put myself visible in the camera as well. We are pixel perfect. Pretty good up today. Oh, SharePoint Monkey is in the house as well. I think I have my SharePoint Monkey here. What wouldn't the world be if you don't have your SharePoint Monkey with you close by? So just saying. So, and those who are wondering, whatever reason, at 1 year when we had the SharePoint conference, maybe 2014 or 16 or whatever, so like 10 years ago, marketing shared 10,000 SharePoint Monkeys for every single attendee of that conference. It was a weird thing. Now, oh, there's another one. Thank you, Paolo. Maybe I'll put it in the camera as well. So let's wait a few more seconds. We do have 50 seats in the room before we start hand waving in here. Paolo, do we do a monkey? Do you do a monkey as well? If you do a monkey? That's good. Okay. Are we all here? Let's do some hand waving. I'll put recording on. We'll see 3, 2, 1, and let's wave. Excellent. I still don't understand how does the SharePoint Monkey relate on community and marketing events of conferences, but hey, that was a marketing decision. Thank you everybody for joining. Awesome to see you on the call and awesome to have you on the community. Thank you for that. Really cool. Excellent. Good to see. Good old SharePoint Monkey every now and then on the picture. Now, let's get then back on the agenda. So right now we're heading then to the actual starts of today. So April and David's going to start to talking about Copilot Studio Agent Academy. Then we're going to transition to Paolo, and then the last demo will be me after Paolo. But April, David, are we good to go?
Yep, good to go. Thanks for having us here to talk about the Copilot Studio Agent Academy. So some of the things I wanted to cover today, I wanted this to be kind of an intro to what even is this thing, why did we build it, kind of take a tour of the interface and what you can do. We'll do a quick little demo of one of the labs there, and then more importantly, talk about the badges that you can get and just how to get started with this. And then in future times, we're going to come back a couple times here, and we'll do a little bit more hands-on demos. So what is Agent Academy and why do we build it? Well, it's built by our Power Platform advocacy team. So we're a bunch of developer advocates. So we have myself, we have Daniel Laskowitz, Scott, Eliza, our mascot Bit. So you'll see him pop up in a lot of the material that we have there at Agent Academy and the badges that you get. So that is our team mascot, Bit the Raccoon. So we kind of spent a lot of time developing this because we came to realize that, there's a lot to learn about Copilot Studio, and people were kind of itching for hands-on real-world use cases. So we decided to create some guided curriculum here to walk you through that. And that is exactly what Agent Academy is. And with the Academy, we're going to have ranks. So the first rank in the Academy is Recruit, and that's what's available now. That's for getting the foundational skills of Copilot Studio, and the scenario that you walk through in this curriculum is building an IT help desk agent. So it's a complete end-to-end scenario where you'll walk through the basics of getting an agent created, adding knowledge and all that. But we're going to follow that up, estimated probably early, November 2025 here. Just in a couple months' time, we're going to have the operative path. So this is where you'll level up and you'll learn more about building more complex agents. And the scenario there will be a new, unique scenario where you'll learn about a hiring agent. So you'll have lots of ins and outs and different things that you'll learn to expand your skills. And then finally, we're going to add on the commander path by January here. And that's going to be really advanced topics in agent management and ALM and all of those kind of really advanced Azure integration and all those type of concepts. So you'll be able to rank up as you go through this curriculum. And more importantly, too, this isn't something that's going to get stale. We'll be updating it on kind of a bi-monthly basis to make sure that as the product changes, which it does a lot, the curriculum will change with it and be updated. So what are the objectives here for the Academy? Well, we want this to be your entry points for AI agents in Copilot Studio. It's really meant to be hands-on. We're going to have step-by-step instructions to guide you through the way of exactly everything that you need to do so that you can go from kind of zero to hero with this. You'll learn how to build, how to scale and deploy agents, and more importantly, grounded in those real-world use cases. So it's not just theory, it's actually practical. This is for you, your users, and your customers. So with that, as I said, we're starting with the recruit path. And the scenario here that we're going to be building is an IT help desk agent. So this is more of a business to employee kind of interaction scenario that you'll be building to support your employees with internal service. So this is good if you find yourself in a situation where your employees need help with devices and figure out what approved devices they have, networking troubleshooting, printer troubleshooting, all those general help desk kind of situations that you inevitably find yourself in. You can request devices, you can have an interactive chat with the agent that you build. You can even raise tickets in SharePoint and get responses autonomously, which is something that you'll learn about autonomous agents in this initial curriculum. So the goal here of what you're building is to keep your employees productive and help to resolve technical issues safely. So a really and swiftly common scenario that we have here. So we kind of have this whole academy. It's an agent academy. So we did a kind of secret agent theme. So you have mission briefings in each of the things. So we want to keep it fun and interactive. So the mission briefing for Recruit is first we're going to walk through the core setup. So you do have to have your own tenant, but we walk you through how to go acquiring that if you don't have one and all the steps needed to set up the underlying SharePoint lists that the agent will use and all of that. So you'll have that in there. We'll also look at a quick example of a declarative agent in there so you can see kind of what that looks like. And then we'll talk about some of the underlying things you need to know about the Power Platform as a whole and how it manages building these with solutions and how to create your solution package and to help with the lifecycle down the road. We'll talk a little bit about some of the pre-built agents, if there's some scenarios that you have that might be out of the box that you can just plug and play. And then we'll get into the heart of the material here, which is building that custom help desk agent. We'll start from that with a conversation, and then we'll go add in topics and triggers. You'll learn what those are, how to add those. We'll learn some fun concepts about how to customize the output of your agent with adaptive cards. And you'll get a real world example of that. We'll even talk about agent flows and how that can help you with kind of more deterministic scenarios that you have that you might want to integrate. We'll talk about triggers to allow the agent to run autonomously. And then, of course, publishing your agent. And the question that always comes up, how much is this going to cost me? And how many messages and credits is this going to consume? And we'll talk a little bit about licensing and tools that you can use to help with that. So that is your kind of mission briefing here. Now to get to this, we're going to go to aka.ms/agent-academy. So let's just jump over here and we'll take a look at what this looks like. So the back end of all of this is actually GitHub, but to make it easier for everyone to be able to browse their curriculum, we created this kind of nice GitHub Pages site where you don't have to, go through a bunch of README files here. It's really intuitive. So this is the homepage. This is where all of the different paths will live. So let's jump into the recruit here. We'll go to get started. And on the left-hand side, these are all of your different missions that we have. And on the right-hand side is an easy table of contents where you can browse amongst the missions. So we see our initial course setup. As I mentioned, you're going to have, the mission name, the code name. So we tried to keep it fun there. And then you'll get an estimate of the operation, how much time it's going to take, your mission brief and objectives. And then we'll get into the ins and outs of that. So here's your steps, the guided, steps about getting your Microsoft 365 subscription, adding in your Copilot Studio trial, and you can click amongst all of these steps to see where you're at and where you should be, and then move on to the next lesson. So really user-friendly to go through this. So we have lots of lessons, as I mentioned, just an introduction to agent to get those foundational concepts. So this one doesn't have any specific lessons, just more a fundamental concept that you can go through, all the way to actually creating an agent from a conversation here. This is a little bit of a longer one. Now, I could walk you through this end to end and show the steps, but honestly, the steps are here and it's meant for you to go through at your own pace. And then rather me talking about it, someone that helped build the curriculum, I thought it would be better to have David, my friend David here, come up and talk a little bit about this because he actually went through this himself recently. And I'd love to get his feedback on it, have him talk with you a little bit about what he learned and kind of the key things that stuck out for him with the material.
Awesome. Thanks, April. So yeah, everybody, I am David Warner and working with April. And so I've been trying to do my best to go through all of this, right? We're all learning Copilot from some degree. Maybe we've been interacting with it more as just a chat opportunity to help us improve things. But when you talk about building agents, this is an awesome initiative because it does walk you through beginning end to end, right? So if we focus here particularly on this particular mission, creating an agent from a conversation, you can kind of see that it's going to take you through about 75 minutes. It's hands-on, it's theory, there's learning. So again, as April said, we're not going to walk you through all of that. But what I did want to highlight specifically is that it's very easy to get started. So if you've never worked with Copilot Studio in agentic building or building an agent or anything like that, don't be overwhelmed by it, right? It's going to walk you through, as you can see, in just a little over an hour, you can get into a full agent. So as we talked about, this is the Contoso help desk agent that you're going to build. And so when you go in here, I've already built it, right? And so we can utilize it. What I want to underscore is that if you are getting started, don't just check the boxes as you go through the lesson. Play with it, learn how to use it, right? So right now I have a particular agent that we built. We're giving it instructions, for example, always prioritize urgent IT requests, provide step-by-step guidance using bullet points. These are the kinds of instructions and prompts that you can give this, much like maybe you've been learning to do when you just interact with AI, whether that's ChatGPT or Copilot, or any of the other models or flavors, etc., right? And you could also include additional knowledge. So you want to do some grounding with stuff, right? So we see here we've got a doc file. We've got a SharePoint site that we're using. So all this will be walking you through it. But when you finish and you start playing with it, like for example, I'm doing a test, I'm testing my agent, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to paste on, I got a blue screen of death, help, and I'm going to hit go. And now it's going to take me through the activity map, which is cool. So do all these things and the process will walk you through it. We're going to see the rationale, how it's going through all the sources of everything that's available. And this is exactly what you're going to get as you walk through. So if you've never interacted with it, take the time to go through the steps. But what I will say is don't be afraid to make some modifications. right? So really learn it. I always say any of us can walk through things and just check a box, and maybe we learned it, maybe we didn't, but sometimes you're just reading and completing, and that's not necessarily going to teach you. So once you've completed the steps in there, then go ahead and say, you know what, that's cool. I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to come in, and I'm going to edit these instructions, and I'm going to add that always reply with the personality of Olaf the Snowman. I want every response with a popular Olaf phrase, right? Well, that's cool. I'm going to hit save and start seeing the personality that you can give to your Copilot agents. Really, that's what you can do. So I'm going to refresh here. I'm going to come back up. I'm going to give it the same blue screen of death message, and let's see what we get. All right, so I'm going to hit go, and it's going to go through that. And it's going to process. Of course, everything is AI, right? So your mileage may vary, YMMV. You might get a little something different each time. We'll see how this goes. Oh, look at that. Okay, cool. It says, blue screens can be chilly surprises, but let's warm things up with some step-by-step troubleshooting. That's awesome. And then, hey, you know what? Our agent likes warm hugs. How cool is that, right? And it didn't even mention that we're referencing a popular personality. Okay, that's cool. But what about more, right? You could even add a little bit more information, give it a little bit more personality. This one's here for Todd Clint. I'm saying, do not provide assistance such as blah, blah. Oh, let me just put the line break there. There we go. Okay. Always end every message with a cheesy knock-knock joke to lighten the mood on what's likely a stressful situation. Be sure to tell them why you're giving the joke to make them smile even when things are tough, right? So we're playing around with this, but also the lesson here is you're learning how to be specific with your Copilot. And all of the modules within this help you learn those things. So if I refresh this and then I go back in and I say, okay, let's ask it again. I got a blue screen of death, help, and let's see what it does. It's going to give us likely that knock-knock joke, but you'll notice it's still going through all the searching of the sources and everything. And it'll also do that for each turn you make, right? So you do have to be aware of that. Okay, look at that. Oh, blue screens of death can be a chilly surprise. So we're still seeing that reference of Olaf, which is cool. It's combining all that. And then at the end, it says, also, here's a knock-knock joke to make you smile. Who's there? Let us. Let us who? Let us eat everything out here, just like a blue screen. So, you can add a little bit of humor to these things as well, personality. And I say all of that simply because you do want to actually learn and play and see what else you can do. When you go through, the fundamentals are provided by April and her team, and Daniel and Scott and Eliza and the whole team there is doing awesome work. But take it to the next step. You have that opportunity, which is what I did. I started playing with it. I love playing with it. I even gave it as a side point a passionate Samuel L. Jackson personality. That was quite interesting. We'll save that for another call. But very, very funny and interesting to see what Copilot does with some of these things, right? Now, I will also mention real quickly that as you're going through the lessons, humans made this. So you may find mistakes or spelling mistakes or grammar, but at the same time, what is Microsoft always doing? They're always moving forward, right? And they're always improving and increasing functionality. And so the common knowledge is that knowledge sometimes can get outdated. But what's awesome is because this is based on GitHub, right? So if I open this link in a new tab, right up here in the right, where you see that's referencing the GitHub repo, you can see that everything here is based on GitHub. That means if you find something that is maybe outdated or can be corrected, you can submit a pull request and help the team out. So you can help shape and improve and continue to make this an awesome opportunity for everyone else to learn from, maybe pay it forward a little bit, if you will. So here's one that I found is just something reference to left, and it was actually the right in the screenshot. I did a little quick pull request, super easy, super cool, helps out the team. We're all working together. So I just want to highlight that's another opportunity for you all in the community is to do that. So don't miss out. And if you've never done that, then by the way, sharing is caring is coming up. We'll walk you through how to do a pull request in GitHub. All right, so we got just a minute or two left. I want to hand it back to April, who's going to cover a couple final slides.
Yeah, thanks, David. So what David just showed is exactly why we built this. We want this to give you kind of the foundation knowledge if you don't have it, know how to do the clicks and all that, but we want you to experiment and everything that David just showed. So this is a great way to do that and get started. And as David said, this gets better if we all help each other. So if you do spot anything in there, feel free to do that pull request. That will really help us in keeping it fresh and maintained so that it's just really useful for everyone and we can keep it going. Now, as part of that too, we want to recognize everyone everyone that does go through this curriculum with badges. So so to get a badge, everyone's able to get a badge, which is great. Just go and submit an issue in that GitHub repo after you go through all of this curriculum. We'll do that for the recruit, for the operative, and the commander when those are released as well. So if you do complete it, just upload a screenshot showing that your solution and your agent working, and we'll make sure that you get a badge if you follow those instructions. So, call to action here. Make sure to go to that aka.ms/agent-academy. Try this out. Let us know what you think. There's also a feedback issue template in there. So if you don't want to maybe do a PR, but you want to just give us some feedback on something that you noticed, something that you might want to see added, whatever it is, we'd love to hear it. Go through that, get your badge, and help us make this content even better and give us your feedback. So thank you all so much.
Thanks, Vesa. Back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, April. Thank you, David. Really, really cool setup. And thank you also, April's team, the whole team, the awesome team, to actually creating these kind of learning exercises. These are really, really, really awesome capabilities and walk through step-by-step guidance on getting started on doing these things in Copilot Studio, which we all need. And that's how we learn. So thank you for the great work on that by the whole team. Now, then we'll transition to Paolo. Paolo is going to talk about the MCP servers. What is an MCP server, Paolo?
I'm going to tell you in a matter of few seconds from now. So
that is good.
Tuned.
That is good. I can see the screen. I can hear you. Take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vesa. And yes, today we are going to talk about the MCP server for the community sample gallery that we created. I'm Paolo, and I'm a senior developer advocate in Microsoft. So as you were telling us, Vesa, what is an MCP? What is MCP and what is an MCP server? Well, MCP stands for the Model Context Protocol. And it is an open source standard created by Anthropic, which can be used to connect AI applications to other systems and services. And there is a really nice metaphor that you can use to describe MCP, which is describing MCP like a universal plug or like a USB-C connector that you can use to connect your device to any other device. That's the overall idea, but applied to the AI world. So by using MCP, you can create agents which can call external services and systems in a really smart way based on the description of the functionalities provided by those external services and relying on the LLM intelligence and capabilities to determine which is the right MCP server to use and to invoke to do something, or to get some data, or to get specific prompts. And by using MCP, developers can definitely save time and make better AI-based solutions. Just to give you a better understanding of what MCP is, I created a diagram that you can use to better understand how the architecture of MCP works. So imagine that you have an MCP host, which generally speaking could be Copilot, could be GitHub Copilot, any IDE of your choice, a chat UI, or whatever else is relying on AI. And which is also using an LLM, so a model, a foundational model, and an orchestrator. And you have an MCP client, which is actually the component in the MCP host, which will take care of consuming an MCP server. How? Well, the MCP client will discover and connect to the MCP servers. You will have one MCP client for every single MCP server you want to consume from your agent. And the MCP client will be able to invoke the tools, query resources, and discover and the prompts provided by the MCP server. On the other side, there will be the MCP server, which will provide tools, which are nothing more than functions that your LLM can invoke, resources, which are data sources provided as read-only information by MCP server, and prompts, which are pre-built instructions that you can use to work with the specific tools and resources that you have available through the MCP server. On a connectivity point of view, or on a transport point of view, whenever you consume an MCP server, you can either use the standard I/O protocol when the MCP server is running locally on your environment, or you can use the streamable HTTP when the MCP server is a remote one. And under the cover, the protocol that is used on the wire is the JSON RPC 2.0, okay? From an authentication point of view, you can have anonymous MCP servers, you can rely on API keys, or on Open Authorization 2.0. Okay, so this is the big picture of what MCP is. Now, just to let you know, Microsoft loves MCP, and you can clearly see that because in Microsoft, we are providing support for MCP in many, many ways. Of course, as I said, Anthropic is the company who created the model context protocol, but on the Microsoft side, we have plenty of MCP hosts like Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, GitHub Copilot, and many more. We have plenty of tools available and supported by all of these MCP hosts through the MCP clients that we provide. And we can also create MCP servers using, for example, the MCP SDK for C# or relying on the Azure API management or creating Azure functions and so on and so forth. So plenty of options for you to leverage MCP and to create your own MCP servers. And that's why from a community point of view, I decided to create the MCP server for the community sample gallery, which is right now providing 4 different tools. One is the sample by keyword. As you can argue from the name, you can use it to search for samples in the community gallery by providing a specific keyword to search for. Or you can use the sample by product, and you will search by product indeed, or sample by author, if you are interested in all of the samples created by a specific author. And then you have the search samples tool, which will require a complex JSON input, and which will give you an open search model across all of the content that we have in the community sample gallery. I created this MCP server using the MCP SDK for C#, and it is provided in 2 different versions. Sorry about that. We have the standard IO one and the streamable HTTP one. It is open source indeed, because we are a community and sharing is caring. So the whole source code is available at the AKMS URL that you see right here. And we also have a public endpoint so that if you simply want to play with the MCP server for the community sample gallery and you don't want to host it on your own resources or on your own machine, you can simply target the endpoint that you see here. Not really a friendly one, but you can still copy and paste the URL. And I'm right now writing all of these URLs in the chat so that you can rely on that. So that said, let's move to the actual demo. Let me show you how I build the MCP server and how you can leverage this MCP server in your real life. So let's start from the basics. Here is the sample solution gallery where, as we said, we can find up to 2,500 samples. And here is the repository on GitHub where you can find the source code of the MCP server for the gallery. And here you can find examples and information about the server itself. But what I want to do right now is to use the MCP inspector, which is a really useful tool that you can use to inspect the functionalities provided by an MCP server. So I'm going to connect to the public endpoint of the MCP server for the gallery. Let me select connect. And now that I'm connected, I can simply list all of the tools provided, made available by the server. And as you can see, I was not lying. These are the 4 tools that we provide right now. And you can, for example, search by product. So if I select this tool, I can say that I want to search samples about SharePoint. I want to get page number 1 and the very first 10 items in the first page. I can run the tool. And I can get back as a JSON response the list of samples available, the very first 10 samples available in the sample gallery about SharePoint, where the product, as you can see, is SharePoint or maybe SharePoint and something else. And you can do that, and you can play with the MCP inspector as you want, using all of the tools that we have available. But what makes this really interesting is that you can actually use the MCP server also in MCP hosts, like, for example, GitHub Copilot. So let me switch to Visual Studio Code. Here I have GitHub Copilot in agent mode, and here I can start playing with our MCP server to do really nice stuff. So for example, if I select the configure tools option, we can see that right here, I already have the MCP server for the sample gallery configured with all of the tools that I showed you before. So we can do stuff like, for example, we can say, I don't know, let's say that I want to search for the samples that I have in the sample gallery where the author is myself. So why not? So let's provide this prompt to the GitHub Copilot agent mode, and it will actually consume the MCP server that I showed you before. And as you can see here, we can see it is going to send this request with the page size of 20, first page, author Paolo Pia. I'm okay to send this request to the MCP server. So let's see what happens now. As you will see, now the agent is able to consume the response provided by the MCP server and will list all of the samples, also divided by categories and with other useful information which have been processed by the LLM. So from an MCP server perspective, we simply provide a JSON array of samples, but it is the LLM that it is processing the output and giving a nice looking response to the user. And that's really cool. And then, of course, you can dig into a specific sample, get additional information and stuff like that. But you can even do more. Let's say that you are a maker or a developer willing to create a solution with Copilot Studio. Well, nowadays, with Copilot Studio, you can easily consume an MCP server. So here I have an agent that I already created in Copilot Studio. This is a very simple one, but in the Tools tab, I have the MCP sample gallery tool pre-configured. How can I do that? You add a tool, you select to create a new tool of type Model Context Protocol, you provide a name and a description, the URL of the server, and the authentication technique you want to use. Once you hit create and you connect, you will be able to get, and yes, I want to leave because I already have it, you will be able to get all of the information about the MCP server that you want to consume. Now we are doing the discovery of all of the tools available. And here again, and one more time, you can see that I have these tools available. And again, as before, I can, for example, say that I want to search something through this agent. But this agent is actually made available not only in Copilot Studio itself, but also in the Microsoft 365 Copilot chat. In fact, after publishing this agent, I made it available through the Teams and Microsoft 365 Copilot channel, which means that I can go to the Copilot chat. Here I have my sample gallery agent, and I can search for stuff like, for example, search the very first 10 samples about Microsoft Copilot. Or I can even do more. I can say, okay, search for the very first 10 samples, but give me title, description, author, GitHub URL of the sample, and preview image. Let's see what happens now. Now, the agent that I created with Copilot Studio will again consume the external MCP server, will determine which is the best MCP tool to use to give me the answer I'm looking for, and will retrieve the information and build the output, the response for the user based on the input that I provided in the prompt. So I will get title, description, author, GitHub URL, and preview image. And the preview image should come shortly, hopefully. And you will be able to see, and here it is, you'll be able to see that we can retrieve really useful information to navigate and to inspect the content of the sample gallery through an agent-like experience, which is, again, in my opinion, really, really cool. But when I introduced the MCP and the MCP theory, I said that on the wire layer, we have JSON RPC2. And so let me prove it, because usually when I say something, I want to give you the evidence of that. So let me switch to Bruno. Actually, we don't talk about Bruno, we just use it. That's a bad joke, sorry about that. But this is Bruno, a tool to make HTTP calls and to expect MCP, HTTP traffic, sorry. My voice is going away today, sorry about that. And here in Bruno, we can make, for example, a request for the MCP server that I'm actually running in Visual Studio Code right here, because my MCP server is nothing more than a .NET application where I'm using and I'm relying on the Model Context Protocol NuGet package and the additional NuGet package for ASP.NET Core. And in the program CS, where I create the settings for my services, I simply add the MCP server with HTTP transport, and I will dynamically read from my assembly all of the tools available and declared in my solution. Plus, I add an HTTP client for the sample tools, which is the actual HTTP client that I'm going to use to consume a REST API, which is provided by the sample gallery. So in the sample tools.cs file, I declare that I have an MCP server tool type, and this attribute comes from the Model Context Protocol NuGet package. So I declare that this class, sorry about that, that this class is the one representing a type which will make available one or more tools. And then inside this class, I have all of the business logic to invoke the REST APIs of the sample gallery and to provide every single tool, like the sample by product, which is an MCP server tool, yet another attribute provided by the model context protocol NuGet package. This is the description that is applied to this specific tool. And then we also have the tool to search by author, the tool to search by keyword, and last but not least, the tool to search the whole sample gallery, providing a complex search query, where the complex search query is a complex type with the name search samples that I defined in my models and which declares how a search is made. So, for example, I can say that when I want to search these samples, I need to provide the sorting criteria, the filtering criteria, pagination, and stuff like that. And so, back to Bruno, I can use RPC, JSON RPC. I can initialize the conversation. I can list all of the tools available, and I can make a call for the search samples tool, providing that I want to search for myself, sorting the output by title, and I can simply send this HTTP request and get back. This is not looking nice, but it is actually the JSON response with the list of samples that I created and sorted by title. So this is really, really interesting, in my opinion, because you can dig into the source code and learn how to create an MCP server, and you can play with the sample gallery and with the samples that we have in the sample gallery. Few useful links, and thank you so much. Back to you, Vesa.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Paolo, on that one. Let me then move to presentation on my side. So we will stick in the schedule of today. So we're trying to close always on the hour, but this should give me enough time. Thank you, April, David, and Paolo. And then let's move to my demo as well. So we're going to talk about the Intranet reimagined with AI. So what does the Copilot actually brings in SharePoint? Because it actually brings a lot of capabilities already today. And we're going to focus on this particular presentation on the content creation experience. Now, you can actually create SharePoint agents, which are technically Copilot-powered capabilities as well. That is a bit of a different topic. Of course, that is a massively improving the Intranet experience as well, but we'll have a separate set of demos and storytelling on that one. So today we're going to focus really on the different scenarios where we're using Copilot to make the content author experience faster, better, and more efficient. And there's some really, really cool capabilities on SharePoint on that one. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I work on the Microsoft, and let's jump right into the topics of today. So I'm going to deep dive or do a slide on all of the different scenarios, and then we're going to go a specific demos in all of them, so you see how this actually works in practice within the Microsoft environment. Now, I think the easiest way to actually approach this is by saying that, well, it can start, Copilot usage can actually make, in the same way as you create documents or PowerPoint presentation, you can write to the prompt and you can basically say, create me a document based on, or a draft based on this information. You can do exactly the same for SharePoint pages and SharePoint news articles. And this works in a way that you go and select explicitly that I want to create a page using AI, and then you can choose optionally use a free-form prompt. Or on the right side picture or the lower picture, you can actually see that we're using this kind of fill-in prompt sequencing, which is really cool. We start making it easy for you to create the page draft. You can also reference on the files which you want to use as a starting point, for example, PowerPoint presentations and the documents, and then all of a sudden, poof, you will get a nice document or a page out of that information. I'll come back on that one. There's a few different nuances how we are evolving this also in the future, but it's a really cool way of actually giving you a starting point. So you can imagine that maybe, for example, in my case, I did a keynote last week on Collab Days Finland, and probably I should be writing some sort of a summary on what did I actually present it and share that within my team. So I can easily reference my PowerPoint presentation and say, hey, dear Copilot, create me a draft on the storytelling as I showed this presentation as part of the Collab Days Finland conference. Create me a draft news article based on that, and poof, it will create me an article. It doesn't publish that without my opinion and without my approval. So, but it's a draft, a starting point for me to start actually modifying things. We'll see that one in practice as I go through that one. Now, as the page has been then created, I can further evolve the page by using Copilot directly in sections. And this also works in a similar way. So you can actually use either the free text prompt, or you can use suggestions for you. So I'm going to actually pinpoint that one explicitly on the screen. And there it will provide suggestions based on the content which you already have on the page. So as you start creating new sections, you can basically say, oh, that's a useful and helpful additional suggestions, dear Copilot. Let's actually include that sections on the page. So it's basically analyzing the content of the page, what is missing, and what the Copilot thinks what typically pages should have, and then it's suggesting information. You can absolutely also reference content, documents, and all of that to create additional structures on the page as well, as a grounding or source files for the information. The right side picture on the screen is also great for explaining that it actually quite often it provides you multiple options. So you can actually select the options based on what it is actually providing for you. Like in that case, we can see the green team resources in 3 different ways, and then you can choose the right way an option from there. And if you don't like any of those things, you can ask it to regenerate a suggestion for you. So really getting you out of that, blank page creation, giving you something to start modifying and creating the content in the SharePoint pages as well. Something also which is really, really cool is the Copilot powered FAQ web part. I will show this one in practice as well with some example product information. But this basically means that you do not need to create the FAQ questions or categories or the answers to those questions by yourself. So we can basically say that, dear Copilot and AI, create me a product specific FAQ list, which I'm going to share with my whoever is going to access the site, with my friends and colleagues and all of that, based on this information. And the Copilot generates the information directly within the web part for you. Super cool capability. I'm going to show that one in practice in a second as well. And then the last, which I'm going to show today, something which is actually visible already in our roadmap item, but I don't think this has been shown before today. So something new on this one. You can actually create Copilot pages or use Copilot to create SharePoint pages directly from meeting notes, something which is really, really cool and quite often needed. So we all know we've been in meetings. If you have a Copilot, Microsoft Teams create a great summary on those meetings. But wouldn't it be cool if you would be able to share that summary of the meeting also with those people who don't have access on the meeting? They were not part of the meeting. They don't have permissions to the meeting. So now you can actually create a news post out of the conclusions and the outcomes of that meeting, and then optionally select if you want to have that video embedded on that page as well. But you can really, really easily and efficiently get that one moving within inside of the company. So super cool capability. But let's have a look on all of that live, because again, it's easier to understand how they work if we do that step by step. So let me go back in here. Let me enable my page. So this is just an example. I'm going to refresh just in case. Just an example site with some flexible layout examples and imaginary content. Doesn't really matter what's actually there and how the site is, because I want to show those AI capabilities in practice within this context. First of all, I'm going to start with an FAQ web part. So let's have a look on that one. I will go to the edit mode. Since I have the Copilot license, the consumers of this web part don't need to have a Copilot license, but I, as a content creator, I have the Copilot license. I can actually start using the FAQ web part because it's visible for me under the AI section. If I don't have the license, that web part is not visible or exposed to me as an option. So I will put the FAQ web part on a page. Let me actually zoom in one step forward. There we go. There's the web part, and then we kind of feed the web part with the information. So when I click the add, it will actually get some information and the files which I recently have modified. But what I'm looking into is getting a few sample things here. So a 100 series intro. I'm going to add a 200 series intro as well. And let's add a 300 series intro. So this is just a example material on a solar panels, which you can imagine that maybe there's a value on creating an FAQ on the product information within a page. Now, that's the source files. from where the questions and answers and categorization will be done. Then I'm being asked to define the purpose. So how we're going to do this? In our case, we're going to select product, but you could actually have the event details and all of that. So it's capturing a bit different perspective on the files based on that selection. So I'm going to select product, and then I can provide additional information if needed for AI, how it should be extracting the information. Now I will create start creation. And then we can see on the left side, creating categories. This is relatively fast. Obviously, a bit depends on a day, but we're doing now live demo in the Microsoft environment, so we should be fine. But what it does now, based on the information, how many pages, how many content, how many slides, it is analyzing that content which we provided as source file. Like in our case, we provided these 3 different source files, and they have like 30, 40 slides altogether. And it's then creating those categories for FAQ or suggestions of the categories based on the source file, what the source file actually contained. Now, in our case, because we're talking about a solar panel source material, it is actually giving us then analyzed set of categories, make sense, specifications, so the technical details, panel types, installation of that solar panel, maintenance, environmental benefits, and all of that. The cool thing here is that basically it's generating the content automatically based on my intent. So it's not only there to kind of it gives me the suggestions, and now I can guide it through as part of the process when it's completed with creating the categories. In a second now, here we go. I can actually choose which of the categories we want to actually talk about. So super important thing, environmental benefits, but I don't want to talk about that one in this FAQ, in this context. I can just remove it. Or I can flip the order of these things. Obviously, I can change the order. I can adjust them. I can actually even modify the content of the categories. So if I want to add and manually one category, I can absolutely do that as well if that's the thing. Now, then we want to draft questions. And now we have the categories already. It's already analyzed the content, so this is a bit faster than the initial steps. But now it's actually creating the FAQ questions based on, again, the material which we feed it for the FAQ wrapper. So the content is actually created here automatically, even the questions, the typical FAQ questions. How long a typical lifespan of panel? Well, that seems okay. And again, I can modify and add questions. I can do things. And then when I'm happy with the questions and answers, it's going to draft me the answers as well. And basically, it's generating the content based on the source files, again, making my life a bit faster or easier. And now there's the answers, and I'm realizing time is flying because I'm explaining this. I'm super excited on the features. Okay, cool. But it's analyzing the answers, and then again, I can modify, I can adjust things, and as it's completed, I can decide which of the information is getting published. Also, I can modify, of course, the answers as well. So it's only generating me the draft version of the information, which is really, really cool. And I can actually also include additional questions if needed and ask it to regenerate. It will only regenerate those additional new questions, not all of the questions, which is really, really cool. So we're using, again, AI for the benefit of the content creator, improving my productivity. That's a pretty cool thing. Now, it is actually now running through, and it takes a bit longer than I was hoping for, but that's fine. It's still doing things. I'm going to stop it, but you understand how it actually works. I'm going to click stop, because I want to actually continue going somewhere else. But technically, what we can do now is to just keep it. I can modify categories, I can add questions, and then when I'm right, I can just republish the base page, and we are good to go with AI-generated content based on that information within the source files. So let me save the page. And then let's go to the creation of the AI-based content. So now, if you have the Copilot enabled within a SharePoint, you can create pages with AI. And this basically means that the AI behind the scenes makes the creation of the page super, super smooth. I can start with a completely free prompt by starting to look and writing the prompt over here and adding a resource files for the better results. Or alternatively, if I go back on a template, there are certain set of templates available for me to fill in. So let's actually use the meeting newsletter. I'm going to show how this works in practice. Creating meeting newsletter page for a subject, and this one was SPFX MVP. I'm we're gonna use MVP Meetup as the example from last week. Summary, agenda, meeting notes, follow-up task. That sounds good. And then I'm gonna go to meetings options, and that's really cool. It is actually finding all of the meetings which I have in my calendar. And now if I go BGI in here, I can select the BGI call, which is a product group interaction call from which I want to generate the content. So the info people who don't have by default access on this information or the content of that meeting or the recap of the meeting, I can now share that super easily within a page. Now, this works in the same way if the source file is PowerPoint presentations, if the source file is Word or something else, or PDF documents, for example. It starts analyzing the content, analyze the source files, and creating a title section over there. And then it starts creating the content and structure based on the information what we're providing. Now, as we're waiting that to continue, I do apologize. We're going to go a few minutes long today on the demos, but that's unavoidable. So right now, as we're waiting for AI to actually process the request. Now, of course, the processing of the information and how fast it start generating all of this stuff highly depends on how much content it has. In this case, the meeting was a 1 hour long meeting, so there's a pretty long transcript. We were showing a lot of stuff. We were speculating on the future direction of certain things, but it's basically now analyzing that transcript, making sure that the title section, content, everything else is actually working properly based on the source material. And it will take a while, but again, I can do multiple things at the same time. So I could actually work on another thing on another page or a window, and eventually I will have a great starting point with the content, which I can start modifying. And again, it does not publish anything automatically. Me as a content editor, I'm in control for creating all of this stuff, which is great. Now, hopefully it will actually do the thing in a second. Or as we're waiting for that to do that, I will also show this one. We can see this is the meeting in summary. There's nothing really NDA or secrets in here. We are speculating on the future direction of SharePoint framework. The meeting summary here, we will actually have the create a news post option available directly in the meeting summary on the Microsoft Teams, which will redirect the user to the creation of the page as well. So now if I click this one, it will actually initiate a new page or a new page creation directly in SharePoint in the context, and it will show us the high-level structure, what are we looking into doing. Now, since I initiated the creation of the page from the Microsoft Teams meetup summary, it is asking me where do I actually want to create that, so I can pinpoint that to be in any location or any file or any source content. In our case, that's my demo site, which I created. We can actually initiate this one here as well. Let's push some AI powers actually to go moving. Let's see which of these is actually faster. So if I go on this side, that's still creating Tenton. Hopefully this one actually processes a bit faster than the other one. Let's see how it goes. But the creation is basically automatic. We will see the creation of the page. There we go. The other one might have actually some sort of a hiccup. We can see how it's actually capturing, again, the meeting as summary. It captures the restrictions, it captures the date, the key topics, what we were discussing, the meeting notes in an understandable format, also embedding the video by default there. Again, if you don't want people to get access on the recording, you can just remove the video. The really cool thing about the auto generation based on the source file, in this case, based on the meeting summary, is that you can, of course, edit output. So again, it is capturing all of the things, summaries, information, structure based on the layout, what it actually has, follow-up tasks based on the transcript of the page. And if I scroll back again here, it is all editable for me. So I can actually start modifying the content any way I want. I can adjust the content. If I don't agree on something, I, as a content owner or the creator of this content, still owns the publishing process. If I keep it, that's there. So it's actually getting the input available. And again, if I want something extra here, we can absolutely do sections. Sections. Oh, sections. No, where's my section? We could, if the section capability is available, we can absolutely initiate the section modifications on the Copilot as well. But to understand the point again here, from the content what we're generating, we're getting the content available, and now I can modify this any way I want and get it then published for the company people. But quick update on the demos, how they actually work, and Copilot. We do have a lot of existing demos and on this available as well, and existing documentation. So please have a look on those super exciting capabilities on SharePoint Copilot authoring. And again, there are, for example, for FAQ web part, we explicitly call out that the content editor is only the one who needs to have the license. So we're able to say the web part, and contents consumer don't need to have that. So really, really cool capabilities which are available. Now, I do apologize. We went a bit long today on this topic, but thank you, April. Thank you, David. Thank you, Paolo. And thank you, me, on the demos of the day. Now, as we do know that having 3 demos is a bit tough always on this course when we have excited demos. Next week, we only have 2. Paolo is back to talk about patterns for handling user settings in SharePoint framework, a super important and exciting capability for that side. And a pretty technical call next week because Sarah and Matthew are here to talk about on behalf of flows. This is an authentication flow for Microsoft 365 Agent SDK. So no kind of an end user maker capabilities covered next week, but that is a really exciting agenda as well. In the meanwhile, please take advantage of our Discord server. We're closing in the 3,000 attendee members in this server, which is really, really cool. There's a lot of discussions there, so you can join freely and have a discussion with other people in the community. We're always also looking for feedback on this community calls, how we can improve. What is your take on? Is it actually really cool? Are this call cool? What we should be adjusting and all of that. So please fill in AKMS community calls feedback. The recording will be available within 24 hours at Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel. And that's it for today. And I do apologize, we went a few minutes long, but we didn't want to cut the meeting in short either. If you're watching this recording, you don't even know that we went long. That's how it works. But thank you everybody for joining on the call today, and see you next time, September 23rd. Tomorrow on 17th of September, we do have a Power Platform monthly community call. 18th, we have a cool demos on Thursday as well. So please check out our meetup service for the agenda details and all of that. But that's it for today. Thank you everybody for joining. Cheers. Bye-bye.